So singular value decomposition. Yeah. And what did it say? Like what was the, what was the result? Do you remember?
We got a partial diagonalized matrix with rest of the rows 0.
Yeah. So suppose you have any matrix. Yeah. Suppose A is a matrix. Yeah. It is a n rows. It's a n by m matrix, let's say, and without loss of generality, n is less than or equal to m. Yeah. Then we can write A. Yeah. So let lambda 1 greater or equal to lambda 2 up to greater or equal to lambda n be eigenvalues of A transpose or A transpose. Do you remember? It's a bit confusing all the time. I think it's A transpose, I believe. Just a second, let me just check again. So I think it was A transpose. Yeah. So of A transpose. Yeah. And let the corresponding eigenvectors be, let's say, V1. This is the orthonormal eigenbasis of A transpose. Okay. So yeah, A transpose is a n by n matrix. Remember?
N by n matrix.
Yeah.
So n values.
So this is the orthonormal eigenbasis. Yeah, corresponding to this lambda 1 to lambda n. Yeah. And what could we say? Do you remember what we said? Yeah. So then we also defined W1 to Wn. What was W1 to Wn?
They are A into Vi to Vn.
Yeah.
Divided by the modulus.
Divided by square root of lambda 1.
Of their eigenvalues.
Yes. Yeah. So this we defined W1 to Wn as 8 times Vn divided by square root of. Yeah. So this will form orthonormal eigenbasis for A transpose. Sorry, A transpose A.
A transpose A. Yes.
Transpose A. And this is the most important part of the theorem. Yeah. You can write A as summation over I equal to 1 to n square root of lambda I. Yeah. And so basically it's n row m column. Yeah. So what should I write here? Do you remember?
Vi.
It is Vi Wi transpose, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this dimensions match.
It's n by 1 into 1 by n.
Yes. Yeah. And there is a couple of other important things. This eigenvalues are always going to be greater or equal to 0. Yeah. Because somehow the eigenvalues of A transpose is always positive. Yeah. It was strange actually. Yeah. We will. Yeah. I will give you another proof for this separately. Yeah. So this type of matrices are called positive semi-definite matrices actually. All their eigenvalues are positive. Yeah. And these things are actually called the singular values. Yeah. And these vectors are called the singular vectors. Yeah. Okay. So is the statement of singular value decomposition clear? Yeah.
Yes, sir, but there are some like remaining vectors from Wn plus 1 to Wm. So that the basis is formed. Like W1 to Wn just form part of the.
So these are not eigen bases you are saying. Yeah. These are actually eigen vectors.
Part of eigen. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, the
combined with Wn plus 1 to Wm, they form eigenbases.
Yeah. Actually, we had a stronger version of the theorem. Yeah. I don't think I proved it, but there's a stronger version of the theorem. You don't need n eigenvalues, in fact. Yeah. You only need r eigenvalues, where r is the rank of A. Yeah. And rest of the eigenvalues will actually be equal to 0. Yeah. So only there will be r non-zero eigenvalues. Yeah, so I can prove this, but yeah, detailed proofs I can give you references to. Yeah, but it's more important we understand the statement and use it in applications. Yeah, so there are you only need actually r eigenvalues which are non-zero. So you will get a orthonormal eigenbasis which is W1 to. So this is not going to be only eigenvectors. Yeah, so we only need r of them actually. So
the vectors in the null space can be considered as eigenvectors with eigenvalue 0.
Yes, exactly.
They act like this.
Exactly. Yeah. So there is remaining eigenvectors are there actually up to Wm. They have eigenvalue 0. So you can just take a orthonormal basis for the null space. Yeah. So this summation you only need up r terms. Okay. Yeah. So what is the need for this? Yeah. So there's an immediate advantage you can already see. Can you tell me?
Like it becomes diagonalized.
It becomes diagonalized. Yeah. Yeah, it is diagonalized. Yeah, that is right. It is diagonalized. So if suppose I want to store this matrix, yeah, how many entries are there?
Only r entries.
So this original matrix has n times m entries, no?
Yes, sir.
And how much space I need for storing this part?
Only r entries are needed, sir.
Not r entries. You also need to store the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Yeah.
Yes,
so
sir.
there is r into. So you need to store this eigenvalue lambda I. Yeah. You need to store this vector vi. So vi is a n-dimensional vector, no? Yeah. And n plus m. Yeah. You agree for storing this, you just need this much space? Is there a doubt?
Can you explain again how it came?
Yeah. So there are r terms in the summation. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the amount of space required is r times each term in the summation, right?
Yes.
So what is each term in the summation? There is lambda I you need to store, there is vi you need to store, there is wi you need to store. Right? And lambda I, there is one entry you need to store. What is the dimension of vi?
N cross 1.
N cross 1. So there is n numbers you need to store. And how much is wi?
1 into m.
Yeah. So m numbers we need to store. Yeah. So I mean, suppose the rank is very small. Maybe the rank of the matrix is very small. So see, there is a huge difference between these two numbers. One is like n times sum and other is like n plus sum. Suppose the rank is very small. Yeah. So this can be much larger than this number. Yeah. So singular value decomposition gives you a very efficient way of storing it. Yeah. And as well as processing it. So these are orthonormal eigenvectors. Remember, it's easier to compute with dot products and everything other than doing matrix multiplication. Yeah. So yeah, this is a very efficient storage format. This is a very efficient computation format for the metrics. Okay. Yeah. Is this clear? The storage argument? Okay. Okay. Now, yeah, if you understand this, let's see a real world examples. Okay. Let's see a real world example. This is a code example. I will share you the code after this. In fact, I can share you the code now itself. If you want to look at it, you can just open it in a browser. So let me just copy this link. So I have put a link in the chat. Yeah. It's a Python code. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So there is a spiral galaxy. Yeah, so you know that the galaxies are spiral, no? What is a spiral galaxy? Yeah. I have always was fascinated by stars and everything, but yeah, when I was a child. So is Milky Way a spiral galaxy? Why is Milky Way called Milky Way or Akash Ganga?
Because of some white things, I guess.
It forms a white band across the sky. Does people know why it forms a white band across the sky? Okay, nobody wondered about these things. Yeah,
Clusters of stars.
it's not just clusters of stars. There is some very unique property of it. And does people know?
Milky Way is a spiral, na sir. So like in the arms of the spiral, it's like that, sir.
Yeah.
So like a white band is there. Are you talking about that, sir?
Yeah. So let's see what it is. Okay. So this is some code which generates a galaxy for me. Okay. There are some equations for that. These equations were derived by physicists. I have no idea how those equations came from. So I'm generating a galaxy. Okay. And let's plot the galaxy. So this is how the galaxy look like. Okay. This is how the spiral galaxy look like. You agree? Yeah. Just yes. What happened now? Just what happened now? I don't know what happened. I don't. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is the position of the galaxy of every star in the galaxy in 3D. Okay. So what can you say about it? What can you say about it?
So it is a spiral.
It is a spiral. So can you tell me why this galaxy is like a band in the sky?
Because it's rotating.
It's rotating very slowly. Yeah, I mean, that is not the reason. Nobody wondered.
Because we're in one of the arms. We are in one of those arms, so we'll only be able to see a part of it.
Yeah. So
like we'll be seeing flat. I mean, seeing the table from the lens, like.
So we are actually looking at the galaxy in our sky in this direction. Yeah. So what do you see now?
A band.
A band. Yeah. So the galaxy is, for some reason, I mean, our space is 3D, but somehow the stars in the galaxy are more or less lying along in a plane. It forms a spiral in a single plane, in fact. I always wondered why it is. Sometimes I will find time to learn the physics to understand why it is, why galaxies are like this. Why should galaxy be like this? I mean, stars could be all over the place, no? But somehow our galaxy is like this. It's a spiral in a single plane. And because it is in a single plane, if you look at the sky, the stars in our galaxy looks like it is along a, I don't know, in a band, right? It's not along a plane completely, okay? There is little bit here and there it goes, yeah? It's not along a completely a two-dimensional plane, but little bit here and there it goes. Okay, is that clear?
Majority or like in a plane.
Yeah, it's a majority. It's kind of close to a plane. Yeah, it is close to a plane. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Question is, what is? So let's say I want to study this galaxy, stars in this galaxy. So what is the right XY coordinate for me to take? Do you think this is the right XY coordinate I should use?
Sir, we can take perpendicular to the plane in which this galaxy is.
Yeah. So what should be my 3-axis? Which direction should be my 3-axis?
The one can be normal to the plane.
Yes,
One
sir.
of
We
them.
need
One can
one.
be normal to the plane. Okay.
One can
Two
be
of the one.
orthonormal to the plane.
Okay. And the what about the other two?
Any two perpendicular lines.
Any two
in the
perpendicular. Okay. So is there a more intelligent way of choosing them? So let me just change things slightly. So here you have a galaxy with 4 arms. I'm making it to 2 arms. Okay. So let's see if I plot it. Okay, why is this? Come on, come on. Okay. So this is a galaxy with 2 arms. Okay. As you see, everything is not completely in a plane here. But yeah, I mean, it's a galaxy with 2 arms. So what should be the XY directions I should choose? Yeah, one direction is perpendicular to this plane. Okay, this plane I will take and I will write a perpendicular thing. Okay, but it's unclear what the plane is also. No, here it's not, everything is exactly not in a plane actually, right? This looks like the logo of Doordarshan and everything, the old logo. Anyway.
Sir, like we can find the plane which solves the best fit equation which we tried for data points in a line.
Yeah. We need to find the plane with that best fit equations. Yeah. Okay, very nice. Okay. Yeah. So question is, how do you find that? Okay, we had a complicated argument. I don't think it was covered very properly. I mean, I did it in a hurry, so
like something similar to the best fitting line.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to this 4 arms case. Okay, and let me just yeah, maybe this also works with 6 arms. I don't know if you will get a nice plot like that. Okay. Very nice. You have a galaxy with 6 arms. Okay. Yeah. So you see that the galaxy is elongated in this direction, no, a bit. You see that this galaxy is kind of elongated in this direction. Yeah.
Sir, why?
You don't see that it's kind of it's.
I mean, it is, but why? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the way the galaxy given to us is. Like why?
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
But you agree that this is kind of elongated in this direction.
Slightly, yes.
Yeah.
So which direction?
This direction. This direction. Yeah. If I, let's say if you draw a horizontal line, it is elongated in that direction. If you look at the perpendicular direction, yeah, it is not that elongated in that direction. It's kind of yeah, it's like a oval shape, no, ellipse shape. You agree? Yeah. So what is the best fit line for this? If I want to fit all these points in a line, which is what will be the direction of the line, do you think?
Sir, the major axis of the ellipse shall be
Okay.
taken.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so in this case, what is the major axis of the ellipse?
Sir, like horizontal type line.
The
Yeah.
direction which it is along.
Yeah, the direction which is located, and in this case, it looks like it's the horizontal direction. Yeah. And then you can look at the perpendicular direction in the plane to that, right? Yeah. And then you have something like, perpendicular to this plane also, we can have the third direction. That looks like a very good axis to study this galaxy. Do you agree?
Sir, but the ellipse is not definitive, right?
It is not definitive, but it's more or less like a ellipse, no?
Yeah, so we exactly don't know the boundaries, so it's hard to locate the center, right?
Yeah, but so still I can ask you the question, no? What is the best fit line for all these points?
Got it, sir.
What is the line which minimizes the sum of perpendicular distances of all the points? Yeah, and that you agree is the horizontal, is a horizontal line here from this view. Yeah. So, so what I'm going to do is, okay, so currently you have this matrix X. So X is this matrix. Yeah, it's basically so if I draw the dimension of this matrix, so I can, okay, I can get the dimension of this matrix. Let me just insert a code cell. Okay, so I can type X dot shape, and if I run it, yeah, so it says 6000 by 3. Yeah, so that is, there are 6000 stars, and there are each star has a 3D point. Okay, so this is the matrix. Okay, yeah. So first of all, if I want to place a x-axis, y-axis, I need to compute the origin. Yeah. So what is the right place for the origin? It's the center of the galaxy, right? You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I think Krishnan also wanted to know why it is planar. I mean, I also don't know why it is planar. Okay, we need to ask the physicists. Okay, for some reason the galaxies are formed. Some reason it's planar. If you solve those gravitational equations and everything, possibly even some general relativity is also involved. And turns out galaxies has some incentive to be planar. Not really planar, but more or less planar. Okay. Yeah. Someday I want to learn it, but yeah, so far I never learned it. Yeah. So you have this matrix X. Yeah. And I found the origin of the matrix, yeah, which is the center of the galaxy. If I take the mean of all these points, I most likely will get the center. I got the origin. Then what I'm going to do is magic. Okay. This is pure magic. Yeah. I just take X transpose X. Yeah. I just take X transpose X. Yeah, this you are looking at X transpose X, and I just compute the eigenvalues and eigenvectors of this X transpose X. Yeah, so this is what I'm doing here. So I compute the mean. Yeah, I compute the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Yeah, and I kind of sort it. So this particular function, unfortunately, doesn't sort things. So I just sort the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Yeah, so these are the eigenvalues. 6 into 10 raised to 6, 3 into 10 raised to 6, some 3 into 10 raised to 6. Unfortunately, even, yeah, 10 raised to 3. Yeah, and these are the eigenvectors. The columns are the eigenvectors. Okay, so far so good.
Sir, I do not understand what is the matrix X, like what are the rows and columns?
X is a 6000 by 3 matrix. There are 6000 star, the 3D positions of the 6000 stars.
Okay, sir, understood.
Yeah, and so X transpose X is, what is the dimension of X transpose X?
3 times 6000.
What X transpose X?
3 times 3.
Yeah, it's
Sir,
a 3 by 3 matrix. Yeah. Question? Yeah. So yeah, Python has most programming languages has libraries which will compute eigenvalues and eigenvectors for you. Okay, but it's still important that you know how to compute them. But yeah, there is a function. You just call this function. It will compute the eigenvalues and eigenvectors for you. Okay, so you can see the documentation also. Compute eigenvalues and write eigenvectors of a square array. Okay, so cool. Yeah. So yeah, these are the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. So far, so good. Is everyone with me? Okay. Now I'm going to do something and it's pure magic. Okay. So now I just plot the eigenvalues and eigenvectors at the origin. Ta-da! So what are you getting? Yeah. So this is the origin. This is the direction of the first eigenvector. This is the direction of the second eigenvector. This is the direction of the third eigenvector. What have we got? Yeah. And this is the ideal axis for us to study the galaxy, right? It's the origin is as the center. Yeah. So if you look at this code, yeah, the red axis is corresponding to the largest, eigenvector with the largest eigenvalue. Yeah, the red axis, and the red axis is actually along the that particular line we talked about, along the major axis of the galaxy. Okay, and the green axis is orthogonal to it. Yeah, and it's along the minor axis of the galaxy, and the black corresponding to the third eigenvector, yeah, is basically perpendicular to that plane. Yeah. Is this yeah?
Sir, we did not used to we did not have to use Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization.
But we already said symmetric matrices eigenvectors are already orthogonal.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
XX transpose, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the beauty of it. Yeah. For symmetric matrices, the eigenvectors are already orthogonal. Yeah. And we got the axis. It's really magic. I mean, yeah.
So one thing, like, why did it work? We just stored the coordinates in a matrix and found the eigenvectors of that matrix, and why did it give those three axes?
So why did the X into X transpose work, sir?
We are not dealing with any linear transformations or something. We just stored the array of coordinates.
Exactly. Like it looks like plain magic, no? You just compute the eigenvectors and eigenvalues, and suddenly you got the axis you want.
Sir, but I don't understand this. Why does this work?
Why does this work? Yeah, very good question. Yeah, we will discuss that in a moment. Okay. Yeah. So this. Okay, I'll just yeah. So what have we done? Yeah, in terms of this theory. Yeah. So we had this matrix. Yeah. So our matrix was R was equal to 3 actually, if you remember. Right. We were looking at 3-dimensional points. Yeah. Everything was not exactly in a plane. Yeah. So the rank was actually 3. If everything was exactly in a plane, the rank was equal to 2. Yeah. But there was actually slight perturbation from the plane. Yeah. So the rank was actually equal to 3. So so A is equal to basically the summation of 3 things. Yeah. There was square root of lambda 1, V1, W1 transpose plus square root of lambda 2, V2, W2 transpose plus square root of lambda 3, V3, W3 transpose. Yeah. And actually, this was our red axis. This was our green axis. And this was our black axis. Yeah. And remember, our eigenvalues was also sorted. Okay. So what we did, so the interesting thing is you can look at a hat 2. A hat 2 is just if you truncate the summation at the second coordinate. Yeah, you just truncated the summation at the second coordinate. Yeah, so I mean, so this V1 is equal to the best fit line. Actually, it's the direction of the best fit line. Yeah, so I haven't proved this, but I'm just stating some facts. Yeah, so V1 is the direction of the best fit line. Yeah, and V1, V2, the plane consisting of V1, V2 is the best fit two-dimensional best fit plane. Yeah, for the galaxy. You understand the best fit plane, no? It's basically this particular plane. Yeah, the plane that you see from here. Okay. Yeah. So why is this result true? Okay. So let me just give you one more example. Yeah. Theorems and proofs are important, but yeah, last 2-3 classes I have been teaching theorems and proofs, and I think most of you are tired about doing this. Yeah, but we need to understand the result also. Yeah, rather than just proving theorems and proofs. So yeah, so what this possibly says is that if you just look at the eigenvalues and eigenvectors, you will get the best fit line. You can get the best fit plane. Yeah, and you will get a very nice. So if I want to study this galaxy, I possibly don't need 3D coordinates, right? You only need 2D coordinates, yeah, with respect to this particular plane. You agree?
Yes, sir. Assuming that galaxy is almost planar.
Yeah, it's almost planar. If you look at in this direction, you see there is some minute variation along the y-axis, but it's almost planar. Yeah, let's generate some other galaxy. Sometimes this also gives very varying things. So let me just generate some other galaxy. It's not scrolling. You are able to run this code in your computer?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So if you look at here, it's actually more spread along this axis. Yeah, it's not a perfect galaxy. It generated some other galaxy. So let's see if our thing works here also. So let's see. Yeah, so x dot shape. Okay, origin. Yeah, I compute the eigenvectors, sort them, and plot them. And yeah, it again found the best fit directions. Yeah. Okay, so you can run the cell. If you click a cell and press Shift Enter, you basically run that cell. Okay. So yeah, so it is clearly the red is the most important direction where this is really the best fit line. It's extremely clear here, and green is the next important direction. Yeah, and the black is the least important direction as far as this data is concerned. You agree? Yeah. So here we were looking at 3D points. Yeah. So I mean, so soon you will be doing some machine learning and everything. Some of you might be interested in doing. Yeah? Then so typically you might process an image. Yeah. Suppose you want to process an image. So let me just open a PDF of an image. Just a second. Yeah. So you have, let's say, image like this. Yeah. So this image is 321 by 261 pixels. Yeah. So if I want to represent this image as a vector, how many numbers do I need to store? How is the image stored in a computer? Any ideas?
Sir, the pixel values are range like in normal RGB. Every pixel has three values: one R, one G, one B. All
Yes.
of them adding up to 225. And then like for every pixel, this value or this number value is stored.
Yeah. So if you have a color image of this size, how many numbers you need to store?
So
321 into 261 into 3.
Into 3. Yeah.
Those
In this case, this is a black and white image. Yeah. So you just need 321 into 261. Yeah. And this is not a large image. You agree? Like your mobile phone cameras can take much larger images. Yeah. Possibly 10 times more than 100 times more than this. Yeah. But even this single image is a huge dimensional vector. Yeah. A huge dimensional vector. Yeah. Now, suppose you have lot of images like this. Yeah, you took images of basically you had a burst mode going on, and you took lot of images like this. Okay, yeah. So you have 32 vectors of this dimension. You agree?
Yes, sir.
You have 32 vectors of this dimension. Yeah, it's a lot of space to store. Yeah, 32 vectors of this much direction, lot of space to store. Yeah, but most of the images look similar, no? Yeah.
So what if we have different person's images?
Yeah. So right now, let's say we are looking at the burst mode. Okay, you are just you are taking the images in burst mode in your mobile smartphone camera. Yeah, and you took all these images. Yeah. So what can we do? We learned SVD and everything. Yeah. What can we do? Any suggestions to store them in a very small way?
Sir, we can form a matrix in which each
So we could find the best fit for every pixel.
Every pixel is a scalar value, no? So what is the point?
Sir, we can form a matrix in which each column is a vector for each photo.
Yes, yeah. You will form a matrix where each column is basically the vector corresponding to each photo. Yeah, the 383781 dimensional vector. Yeah, and we will take the SVD, singular value decomposition. Yeah, and we will only keep the vectors corresponding to the largest eigenvalues. Okay. You understand what we are doing? Yeah.
No, sir. No, sir.
So we form this matrix A. Let's say n is equal to 32 and m is equal to that 8156 vector. You agree? So every row corresponds to one image in that picture. Is that clear? You understand this matrix A? Yeah, is the matrix A understood? N equal to that 32 and m equal to that 8156 or something, that large number. (32 into 83781). Okay. Yeah, and we will compute the singular value decomposition. We will compute the singular value decomposition. Yeah, so you will have basically some long matrix like this. Yeah,
Yes,
and
sir. What was
Yeah.
83781 again? The number of pixels? I forgot, sir.
Yeah. So it is 321 into 261, 83781. The number of pixels in this image.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
To represent this image, I need this many numbers corresponding to the brightness of every pixel. Okay. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So every row corresponding to one image, basically all the pixel intensity values for each of this thing. Yeah. And we will compute the yeah, the singular value decomposition, and maybe instead of looking at okay, this particular this thing will have 32. Yeah, you will need to, maybe the rank is full rank, it is 32 dimensional, so you might need to sum up from 1 to 32 and you do the square root of lambda I vi w transpose. So if you do this itself, there might be some, yeah, so in fact there is not much improvement. Okay, it is R will be equal to 32, and
we have to store even more things.
yeah, you might even have to store even more things. But the interesting thing is most of the images are actually similar. Yeah. So instead of this, I can approximate this by storing maybe the first I don't know, 5 things. Yeah. So instead of storing all the 32 things, I will only store the first 5 things corresponding to the largest eigenvectors. Is the plan clear?
So then images might be distorted.
It might be distorted. Okay. So let's see what happens. Yeah, if you do that. Okay. So this is what happens. Yeah. Yeah. So this is what. So this is what happened when they store only 4 components. Yeah. So this is yeah, basically the first eigenvector. This happens to be the second eigenvector. So remember, every eigenvector is also a 8156 dimensional vector, no? Yeah. Yeah. And if you just store this according to this yeah, vector, your first 4 vectors, yeah, this is what you get. So you see that the quality is a little bit reduced. The quality is little bit reduced, but it's decent. I mean, yeah, some way it's compressed. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so basically we have just looked at 4 components here. Yeah, and we have greatly reduced the size. Yeah. So I mean, there's nobody stopping you from 4. You can go all the way to 10. Yeah. It will still provide some 2 or 3x reduction in size. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, people have developed much more interesting way of image compression. Yeah. This is again a toy example only. Okay. So there are much more interesting ways of image compression, but this is a fundamental principle what we are doing here. Yeah, there are more complicated ways of doing this fundamental principle, and that's how even the new image compression techniques are. They use a lot of the spectral methods. They will compute some eigenvalues, eigenvectors in some interesting way and do it. Yeah. But later you will have a computer vision course long time back in your 3rd year or 4th year. There you will learn about all these things. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So okay. Yeah. So there is one more thing I wanted to show you. Yeah. So you can use this for image compression. Yeah. So there is one more thing I wanted to show you. So in machine learning, you represent all sorts of things as vectors. Yeah. So suppose so you want to represent. Yeah. So there's a data set commonly used in machine learning. So this is kind of a hello world data set. Yeah. In computer vision called MNIST. Yeah. So MNIST consists of 28 by 28 images. Okay. So images of size 28 by 28. Yeah. black and white images of handwritten digits. So you have handwritten digits. Okay, there is some 28 by 28 image, yeah, of some handwritten digits. I might write like one like this or something like that. Yeah, so these were handwritten digits. So you have some 50,000 images like this apparently. Yeah. So yeah, so each of this image is a 28 by 28, 28 into 28 vector. Yeah. So there are 5,000 images, each of dimension 28 into 28. Suppose how do we visualize these images? Can we visualize these images? These data points in a sensible way. Yeah, this is the problem. It's not a well-defined theory problem or anything, but it's a interesting problem that we want to solve. Yeah, you have a lot of these images coming, yeah, and we want to visualize them in an interesting way. Yeah, so what is a good approach? Can you suggest something?
I did not get the question. Like visualize in the sense we have to see one photo which is the best match, or we have to see all the photos together.
You want to see all the photos together, in some interesting way.
Like representing in a matrix or something like that.
No, you want to visualize a lot of data points, lot of images coming in. Yeah, can we visualize them in an interesting way? Yeah, which some way makes sense.
So,
Yeah, it's a very vague question. I agree, it's a very vague question.
Maybe have the same digits written by different people clustered together, maybe.
Yeah, so I only have these images. I am not told what labels this has or anything like that. What is the correct this thing? I only have many vectors. I don't even know what is written. I only have these vectors.
Yes, sir. So the vectors which have black at similar positions can be clustered together, something like that.
Yeah. So as human beings, we can only look at a three-dimensional space. No, for some reason, we are human beings. We can maximum visualize a three-dimensional vector, right? At max, we can visualize a three-dimensional vector. There's nothing much we can do. Yeah. So can we? So this vector can we project? So there is this. Let's say this is 50,000. Yeah, and there is 28 by 28. 28 into 28. This works out to be some 760 something or something like that. Yeah. So we can visualize points in 3D. Yeah, but we cannot visualize 768 dimensional vectors. Yeah. So how do I convert the 768 dimensional vectors to 3D? Yeah, such that it's interesting. It's very similar to the problem that we just now solved. No? If I want to visualize this 768 dimensional vectors in 1D, what will you do?
We'll take the matrix corresponding to largest eigenvalue, like that root lambda VI transpose.
In a plane, what will you do?
We'll take two of them, two largest values.
And maximum we can go up to 3 because I can only see three-dimensional things.
Best fit plane. Yeah.
So we will find the best fit three-dimensional subspace now. Yeah. And so there is this. Okay, so what is happening here is, so each of these points is actually that 768 dimensional vector. Yeah. It has been, so they computed the first three eigenvectors. Yeah. The eigenvectors corresponding to largest eigenvalue, projected all those points down to those three eigenvectors. Yeah. and represented it. Yeah, and instead of plotting a point there, they are plotting the original image there. Is it clear what is happening? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, and this is what you get. Okay, so let's label them by the actual labels. Yeah? So you see, all the ones are nicely concentrated to one side. All the threes are nicely concentrated to one side. Yeah, I mean, it's not completely concentrated. All the zeros are completely concentrated to one side. Yeah. So yes, there is a 7 sitting here. Yeah, and why is there 7 sitting with the ones? You agree that this also looks like more or less sometimes a 1 to some person? Yeah. Okay. So similarly, there is a 3 sitting here along with the 2s. Yeah. But the reason that 3 is sitting along with the 2s is because it more or less looks like a 2 also. Yeah. Similarly, if you look at yeah, there is this area of 6s. Yeah. And if I look closely, there might be 8 also sitting along with the 6 because the 8 looks like a 6. So yeah, so here is a 2 which okay. Yeah. So suppose I project it to some random dimension. Yeah, what happens? So I can also project it to 2 dimension. Yeah. So see, the 1s are all sitting here, 3s are all sitting here, 9s are all sitting there. Yeah. And suppose I project it to a random subspace. This is what I will get. There is still some clustering. Yeah. But if you do this SVD based projection, it's much more interesting. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah.
Sir, can you project it to? Can you not project it to 4-dimensional or something?
I mean, you can project it, but then you cannot visualize it. I don't have the
Okay.
ability to visualize 4-dimension. Yeah, I mean, how will you visualize a 4-dimensional thing? You will need to make a movie out of it or something like that, right? But yeah, yeah, maybe that is something interesting you can try. But yeah, the reason we chose 3D and 2D is because yeah, I mean, it is easy to visualize.
Sir, why is there a bit of whiteness towards the ones?
There is no whiteness or anything. I mean, it is just a, there is some fog effect to just show you that it's a 3D plot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the things far away, there is some fog and all, so that you realize that there is a 3D plot. Okay.
Just for understanding. Sir, if
Sorry.
more the vectors we consider in singular value decomposition, less they would be similar.
So
7 is coming inside 9. So that would decrease if we include more eigenvectors, sir.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, so remember what are we doing? We are kind of taking the entire I mean, singular value decomposition. We are truncating at the initial 4 or 3. Yeah. This is what we are doing. Obviously, when you add more vectors, you will see more properties of the original data set. Yeah. So as with this, as this 4 becomes closer to 32, you are I mean, so if you stop at 4, this is the best I mean 4-dimensional subspace approximation of the original data set. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you might want to, depending upon how much yeah, I mean approximate you want, you might want to increase this 4 to 10 or 15. Yeah, and choose it accordingly. Okay. So yeah, some of you asked, okay, why does this work? How does SVD result in giving the best fit subspaces? So one way is this could be derived from the least squares method. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's there in the textbook. Also, there's a more detailed explanation. I have given a reference to that theoretical part in the website, in the course webpage. Yeah, I have put links to all these resources in the course webpage. Yeah, I mean, if you're interested, please go and read. It will be extremely useful for you. Possibly this will be also covered in the advanced machine learning courses or data science courses later. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a practical use case where these are actually used. And this is a very elementary use. That is a very fundamental use. And this SVD is going to be used in many different ways, in machine learning, in theoretical CS, in complexity, in many of the fields. And yeah, so I hope I gave you an idea what this means. Yeah, I can take questions.
Is it similar to like when we created a line in a two-dimensional data plot, we are trying to create a three-dimensional space in a 768?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So let's go.
Sir, can you repeat what you said, sir? I couldn't hear properly.
Sir, I think you're muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. So we could not hear Balaram Krishna though.
Yeah. So is it clear what happened with the spiral galaxy? What were we doing and how did we get this? Yeah. So we had 3D points. Yeah. And we wanted to find the best fit plane. Yeah. For the best fit line. Yeah. So the red was the best fit line. Yeah. And the red and the green together form the best fit plane. Yeah. And we said, okay, to analyze this data, we can ignore the black dimension. We can just project all the points to the red and the green plane and analyze the galaxy using just those 2D coordinates. Yeah, and it's more or less approximate. Yeah, because the black direction is not much interesting. Yeah, is this clear? The galaxy part.
Yes, sir, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Sir, and when we are like representing the matrix as summation in the summation form of rank one, like not rank one, but different matrices. So if Vi represents the best fit line or best fit subspace, then what significance does Wi hold? Wi transpose hold?
I mean, yeah. So I mean, so you can always look at the matrix in two ways. Yeah, you can think of it best fit subspaces in terms of rows or columns. Yeah, so W transpose looks like it is the best fit subspace if you look at the columns direction. Yeah, so what is the best fit subspace corresponding to A transpose? Yeah, then basically the WS will give you the answer.
Yes, sir.
So let me just go back to the galaxy. Yeah, so you can play around with this code. Okay, could possibly you can take go to file and copy notebook or something you can do. Okay, and you can locally do copy the notebook and you can make changes yourself. Yeah, or if you are not able to do it, let me know. I can send you the file itself. Okay. Yeah, and in this link you can see this MNIST with images. You need to change this to MNIST with images, and you can visualize this. Yeah, I mean there you can write code also to do this. There is plenty of code available. I mean it's a little bit more tricky. I mean essentially it's the same code as this. Yeah, I mean you will need to load all the MNIST images and yeah, you will compute the eigenvectors of A. And just project every image to that subspace and then plot it. Yeah, I mean lecture is over. I can take questions. No questions?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, I didn't understand how the image compression happened. Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Okay. Okay. So you agree that the number of entries here is much less than the number of entries here?
Yes, sir. But we'll need to store the coordinates for the entries for the reconstruction now. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how?
So I mean, so this is a 32 by 8 3781 matrix, uncompressed, no?
Yes.
All the images. Here instead we are storing only 4 times 1 plus 32 plus 83781 numbers. You agree? If I am only projecting to a 4-dimensional subspace. And I mean, I believe these two numbers are like this is at least 8 times larger than this, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And we already saw. Okay, let me just open that thing again. Yeah. So basically, yeah, these are actually the eigenvectors. I mean, eigenvectors plotted as images. Yeah. And yeah, any vector can be stored in terms of this eigenvectors. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it gives some decent images. I mean, yeah, not too bad, but yeah, not too good either. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is a toy example. There are much more interesting ways in which this can be used. But yeah.
In the galaxy spiral one, that when we are trying to project it in a plane, then the points which are above and below the plane, would we ignore them, sir?
It won't ignore them. You will project it into the plane. You will just be looking at things from this direction. That's all.
Okay, sir, understood.
So I mean, okay. So there might be the one star, here and here. It's there may be some distance between those stars, but they will be mapped to the same point. Yeah, that kind of things could happen. Yeah, but the number of collisions will be minimal because I mean, most of the stars are spread around this direction, this plane. You agree? Yeah. So this is a way of projecting things to a lower dimension. Yeah, minimizing the collision such that the distances are roughly preserved.
Like the amount of collision is like the lambda 3 will give the amount of collisions, the black eigenvector.
Yeah, in some way you can say that. Yeah, the lambda 3 component is lost when you project it to the first 2 dimension. Yeah, and the lambda 3 component kind of tells you the error incurred in doing this projection. That is right. Yeah, in fact, if lambda 3 is equal to 0, yeah, then all these points will lie in a perfect, perfect subspace. So we can do that here actually. So actually this is actually everything is in a plane, and I have done something so that, yeah, this is actually the set coordinate. Yeah, I have given some random values here. So now if I run it, it will be exactly in a plane, in fact. Yeah, so this is actually exactly in a plane. Okay, and if I now compute the eigenvalues, yeah, you will see that in fact that third eigenvalue is actually 0. Yeah, so if you look at the last eigenvalues, it's 10 raised to minus 10. Okay, yeah, the value of this is 10 raised to minus 10. So there is some numerical errors that can come up. Yeah, so this is essentially 0, the third eigenvalue. Yeah, so if I add some set component, so here I'm adding some, so I'm just putting this image, stars in random positions actually. So then you will see that Yeah, so there is a spiral, and yeah, there is some, I mean, it's not completely in a plane. Yeah, now even the last eigenvalue is like 10 raised to 3. Yeah, so they are significant. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, I thought there will be a lot of questions today, but okay then. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.